know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Gianlutis, and as you can see, we have another incredible guest, a returning guest for that matter, because I hope you have looked at our past videos. I give you Jack Sernett. He's an incredible, inspirational speaker. He's a great coach. And guys, from our past videos, we've talked about a lot of deep topics, and today we're going to even further the fact, because Jack and I just talked for about an hour or so, connecting, haven't talked in a little bit, but seeing where both of our lives have gone, but seeing where he has gone in his steps as creating an impact for schools, but also his journey to get there has been just as much inspiring as it's been in the past. So guys, I give you Jack. Jack, thanks for being back here, brother. It's always a blast having you on.
Thanks, Billy. Yeah, I feel like this is something I recommend everyone has. Have someone that you can talk to that helps you grow. And so I feel like the value has already been there so far. Now that we're obviously recording some stuff here, we'll continue.
I appreciate. Yeah, we got the ball rolling just in our talk. The energy's high, so we're gonna throw people into it,
Absolutely.
right? But give people a recap. Where have you been lately? Because I know just in the past few months, if people don't know, Jack has been through a significant amount of surgeries with health issues, everything like that through his whole life. Is what adds to his inspirational story. But Jack, you've had a little bit more. You've had a little bit more surgeries to the amount so far the last few months. Tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I joke with people. I'm like a firefighter. When I wake up in the morning, I don't know when the alarm's gonna go off or if it will go off. Every single day I feel a little different with chronic kidney disease and chronic pain. I have a tube that comes out of my lower stomach permanently. It's just, and having that it causes its own host of issues. So it keeps life exciting. Every day is not boring, but I had about 3 or 4 infections in a row, kidney infections. And I don't know if anyone out there has had any, but I've had like over 100, and it's the gauntlet. It's the fever, the nausea, vomiting, pain, all that. And then about once or twice a month, I'll get the pregnant lady test. So I'll get the ultrasounds and like the CT scan, like take imaging of my body. And I knew something was up. I don't know if you ever had that, Bill. You're like, God, I swear there's something wrong with me, but I don't know if I'm just making it up in my head or what. Something wasn't feeling right for a long time. And then finally I went into my doctor's and got the imaging done. And I had stones and scar tissue in my kidney and then stones in my bladder.
Wow.
And as you can imagine, it's like razor blades. I don't know how to explain it. It is some of the sharpest pain. And my bladder is worse. There's times where I wouldn't feel any pain, but then if I just barely tighten my seatbelt, it's like someone was stabbing me in my gut.
Wow.
It was a very frustrating. So, and then, just a simple human act of like going pee. It's like a 9 out of 10 pain. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my
goodness. Anyways, we had to get the surgery scheduled pretty quickly because those things can cause damage and issues. So I had my 24th surgery 2 weeks ago, and that's it's I'm used to it by now.
Yeah.
And I am very blessed because I do speaking gigs part-time and I'm a full-time trainer and coach.
Yep.
But I have such a great client base, and I can take time if I need to go be in the hospital and work on my health and try not to die, essentially. I mean, it is what it is, And so one thing I know you and I have talked about, Billy, is the last 3 months has just made everything else so much more crystal clear too, because there's so many things you could worry about and stress about, but when your health is not there, that's the only thing that matters. Like having really, really bad health struggles or like a sports injury or some crazy like trauma, it creates so much clarity. Like you just realize you don't have energy or time to waste on BS, things outside of your control. And so anyways, that's been the epiphanies. Because of all the health issues, I took time away from speaking and I was working a little bit less with clients. And now I've started to get back out there. I got my 3rd gig in the last 3 months coming up here on Saturday. And then obviously continue to try to work as much as possible when I'm not in the hospital. So controlling what I can control.
For sure. No, and in everything you just said, there's so many messages in that concept. But for people listening right now to go through these surgeries, to go through heck the bladder, the
Yeah,
kidney
yeah,
stones,
yeah.
that's horrific in itself. But I want people to grasp something about Jack. That the mentality to get through it's inspiring. But at the same time of going through all these surgeries, Jack, you are still in the gym tossing weight around, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
your
yeah.
way to stay like grounded. And it's just to see the weight that you still toss around
Yeah.
while knowing like if anyone follows Jack on Instagram or anything like that, like I suggest you do. As always, all of his information will be in the credits of this video. But you'll see Jack post, I don't know, power cleans at we'll say what 315, whatever. We'll just put something out there
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
315,
Over 300. Yeah. Yeah.
right, at that, and then the next day you'll see Jack post surgery, and then the
Yeah.
next day Jack will be back in the gym.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have the mentality, as you said, control what you can control,
Yeah.
and you're one thing that I want people to grasp from this message today, as much as we can touch on so many areas you touched on, is in controlling what you can control, you also control your reactions to what people tell you and the information that comes your way. And when Jack and I were talking before hitting the record button, with all the surgeries he's been through, with the information the doctors have given him, which for most could be life stalling, it could be life ending news in that sense, where like,
Yeah.
hey, we don't have a timetable. It could be 9 months. It could be, as Jack, I believe you quoted it, 9 months, 9 years, 19 years, whatever it is. But at some point, things could get worse. And you have the mentality that I love, in the sense of you hear that from the doctor, you kind of digest it, but you take it with a grain of salt, where like, that's not how the end of my story goes.
Yeah.
And I want people to grasp that the mind is so powerful, and that's the main focus of Once a Week,
Yeah.
with all these different messages we put out there. But just because a doctor or someone gives you bad news, it's not the end result of your life. How you interpret that information and what you choose to do with it. If you choose to control what you can't control, take it into your own hands, and then move forward in healing, move forward in, you know what? I think there's a second opinion out there, but I also think my opinion matters most. And I think I can heal this. That's personal power, but that's true. In the world we live in, people, I think, are coming to that realization. Their eyes are opening to their ability to heal themselves on these levels that doctors are like, how did you do that? Because I'll give doctors the most credit in the world, but at the same time, we know our body more than anyone. And a doctor can study your body, but they're studying the body because they're trying to figure you out. And if
Yeah.
you control your body in that sense, believe it or not, the deeper you go in your mind, you can tell your body to heal, and it's going to heal. It's a matter of your belief and stamina behind that. I know I just went off on a little rant, but Jack, I want to toss it back to you, because
Yeah.
that's in your mentality, where you take it with a grain of salt, and you know what? This isn't going to define me. I define me. Can you
Correct.
touch a little bit on that?
Yeah. So every time I go to the hospital and I talk to my medical team, so first of all, I lived in San Diego for 6.5, 6 years.
Right.
And I moved here because there's specialists here at KU. There was either here or Mayo Clinic.
Mhm.
I grew up in Kansas City, but it just God, the grace of God, destiny, whatever you want to call it. My doctors in San Diego said, "Hey, we can't help you anymore, so we're gonna have you go to Kansas City." So, anyways, I had like a very legitimate, specific team of doctors here. I never go into the hospital, and never is a strong word, but I never go in and get told great things. It's always this, and this. And there's times even like before my surgery 3 weeks ago, my urologist was like almost crying when he was talking to me. And one thing I do first is, even if it is dogma and fact what they tell me, I go immediately to what we've talked about, like logical to a fault, where worrying about it is not gonna. Worrying has never accomplished anything in my life ever, ever. And sitting there and ruminating and worrying on it for more than a couple seconds is not going to magically change the outcome. It's like I joke with my clients about my medical bills. I have an obscene amount of medical bills on a monthly basis because of all my surgeries and just outpatient procedures. And I go in for IV treatment every single week. Stressing, worrying about that, it's not going to magically make the number go away. It just isn't. But my brain, if I'm not careful, my brain will trick us into doing that. So that's the first thing I do is whenever I get this negative news, or like, hey, like your kidneys, we're gonna have to get a transplant eventually. It might be 9 days, 9 weeks, 9 months, or 9 years. We just don't know, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Right.
That's the first thing I do is I just literally just in the moment, I'm like, okay, so if that is actually a fact, why would I rob like this moment of joy by worrying about something? It's like when you're in an airplane, there's turbulence.
Yeah.
If freaking out would make the plane level out, I will freak out with everyone, but it
Yeah.
just doesn't. It just won't
Exactly.
do it. And so that's where my brain goes. Secondly, I've already had examples in my life of doctors saying, hey, this will happen, and then it hasn't happened. And so I've got these examples of like my body has done things and healed and changed, even surprising doctors. And I think a lot of it obviously has to do with your mind-body connection, just having faith and ultimate like belief, like what they tell you isn't just a fact. There's medical error. I think on average about 250,000 deaths are caused each year from medical error. So just that fact alone, I learned that during the past 4 years, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
So those two things, I immediately ground myself, and I just think to myself, okay, if that is a fact, worrying about it and crying in the closet all day is not going to magically make it not happen.
Right.
That's number one. And number two is like you alluded to, and I'm sure there's a gazillion examples. If we just Googled like, hey, people healing from like permanent health, diagnoses or whatever, you'll see people with stage 4 cancer get into remission. And that's where I truly try to go into and believe. Like I know like there's a lot more in my control than my doctors will give me credit for. So yeah, those two things. I know that probably a lot of word vomit there, but that's what I do every single time. And it's just that simple. It's like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I go into the KU Med for imaging or treatments and outpatient labs. Of course, that sucks. I mean, how much time do I waste each week doing stuff in the hospital like a normal 30-year-old guy doesn't have to do?
Right.
It's crappy. Like for me, I spend about an hour a day on my own in my own apartment doing medical treatments on myself.
Gotcha.
It's so shitty. I hate it. But me sitting here complaining, whining, worrying about it is not going to change it. It's like the ultimate like acceptance of this is my reality.
Yep.
At the same time, not just quitting and just listening to what they say and be like, all right, that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. You're essentially living with the hand you've been dealt, but not operating from the hand you've been dealt.
We've talked about this before, and this is probably one of the best things I'll say all day is I feel different every day. It's like, to your point, there's some days where I feel like I'll go deadlift 500 pounds, squat 400, power clean 350, and then snatch 250. And I feel like I could literally go run through a wall. And there's other days where like my grandma could beat me in an arm wrestling match.
I gotcha.
And that's just not an exaggeration. My body changes so much. And so there's days where, I like playing Texas Hold'em occasionally. Like I have this stupid app on my phone. I'll play against the computer. There's days where it's like I get a 2 and a 4, and that's a really crappy hand, but I play it as if I have pocket aces. Like I just don't waste energy. I'm trying to play the hand I'm dealt to the best of my ability. I don't waste energy on, oh my God, I got a 2 and a 4. Oh my God, this is so crappy. I play it to the best of my ability.
Right.
So when I do get a good hand, like today, I actually feel really good today. I'll go work out. I got some clients later. I feel like I got pocket aces today. Now I can take advantage of it and keep that going. So that's exactly the same approach like you alluded to. There's days where I get dealt a really shitty hand, but I just make a conscious decision. My reaction to that is play it to the best of my ability. And, this is obviously cliche, but we've been over this. It could always be worse.
Yeah.
And if I lived in a third world country, I'd be dead by now.
I get you. Yeah, it's true. And in those concepts, there's something you said to me prior to us recording that lines up perfectly with this, in the sense of it's not easy, it's simple. And where everything you just touched on, it's not an easy life, but it can become a simple life when you do what you need to do, control what you can control. Yes, you have to spend an hour a day on your health, and that's tough. But because you've accepted that area of it, you're willing to do it, and you don't fight over and fuss over and stress over the fact that, oh, I got to do this again today. When you accept that aspect where, all right, it's another day, got to do what I need to do, and how can I move forward today?
Yeah.
That is the concept of healing in itself, where if we stress, people listening, if you stress and you really build up that negative energy to whatever health issue you have, your mind sends a message to grow that health issue even worse, because you're focusing on the negativity around it. If you accept it as Jack has done, where it's, all right, this is the hand I've been dealt, and whatever concept it means for people, how can I play it today? And yes, you might get a 2 and a 4, you might get double aces, whatever it is, for whatever that means for people and their own examples. But it might not be easy, but it's simple. And it's simple when this is my routine today and you accept your routine today. So
Yep.
Jeff, touch a little bit on that in the sense of it's not easy, it's simple for us.
Yeah. So, Billy, the things you and I talk about and the things that have helped me thrive. And like, I used to, coming from someone who used to have like chronic anxiety, depression. I had an eating disorder in high school. We've been over this in the past on previous episodes.
Yep.
I simplified the absolute fudge. I don't know if I can cuss on this.
Let it ride. Do what you got to.
The absolute fuck out of my life by very logical, simple things. Every single day, I do everything I can in my power to only spend my time and energy on the things I can control.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then when things happen, there's a tattoo on my arm. It says amor fati, just a love of fate. This is just what it's meant to be. It's meant to be. This is just my fate, and I love it. I'm going to play it to the best of my ability. As you know, the last week, certain people had things happen that they didn't want to happen. Any time in their life. I'm just not naive. I know there's going to be things that happen I don't want to happen. I'm not going to be shocked or disappointed or let down by that. And the simple act of the dichotomy of control. I focus on what is in my control, my attitude and my actions, my reaction to what happens to me. And they just become an absolute pro at that. It's amazing how much easier life gets. All of a sudden you don't stress about like a stupid sports game on TV or what he thinks or she thinks, or, oh my gosh, the weather used to crush me, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? It's just that simple. So, what's interesting though, I think it's our brain's protective mechanism. I'm not sure your thoughts on it, but if we're not careful, our brain will trick us, and it wants us to try to control life, and it's so exhausting when you're constantly trying to control the outcomes and people's opinions and what happens. And luckily, I've had a lot of practice and examples over the years. Like out of my 24 surgeries, my first 15, I responded terribly to. The ultimate victim. Oh my God, cry me a river. Life sucks. Poor me. The last 9 has been like my greatest asset because it just creates clarity. I don't waste time on bullshit. It's just that simple, And I know you know this. I'm preaching the choir here.
No, it's perfect though, and that's the mentality that breeds success.
100%.
It breeds results. We'll say success in whatever people want it to be, whether it is health, whether it is in goals, life, whatever. That's the mentality.
100%. And this is some like higher level stuff we can get into if you want, but like when you don't waste time and energy on things you can't control, it allows you to be like your true self, like your true authentic self. And like one thing I think we so often forget is like so much of us live day to day as if we're going to live forever.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just amazing to me how many adults I talk to and come across, or even like college kids during speaking gigs or high school kids.
Yep.
Like they're not being themselves.
Right.
They're majoring in things that they don't want to do. They're making decisions. They're voting for something they don't want to vote for. They're, you know what I mean? They're behaving to fit in as opposed to like just being true to themselves. And that's something I've noticed personally is as I've gotten better and better at just weeding out the BS and only staying on what I can control, it allows me to like just be myself.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? That's a huge like freedom that comes with that.
Yeah. Oh, and that's what life's about. Life's about, this is me. This is my journey. I'm going to pursue it the best way I can.
Yeah.
And to touch on the point you even said prior to that, our ego is what tries to control everything else around us.
That's exactly it.
Right? When you operate out of your ego and everything needs to bend to your will, but that person has an ego of their own. That person makes their own choices. That person has their own perception of what life is. I can't change them. I can only focus on me. And when we go inward to figure that out, we ascend the ego to the point now where we're allowing life to happen, directing it with what we want our mind to create, but we're allowing it to come together. We don't have to force it together. We don't have to control it together. We don't have to stress and try and fit these two puzzle pieces together. That's our ego trying to take over, when in reality, life is about reaching a higher level in your mind, a higher spiritual level, to allow yourself to realize like, all right, today's a new day. I can't control the weather, as you touched on. Well, let's just see how great it's going to be one way or the other. And when you have that perception, life changes. And like Jack, that even touches on another key quote you said to me. Life is so peaceful when you stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what we're touching on right now is your ego wants to get you out and make everything your lane. In
Right.
reality, this is my lane right here. I don't control. So what Jack was alluding to earlier was at the time of this recording, the elections were 2 days ago, right? Two
Yeah.
days ago. And, it's been devastation for people or in reality, all right, like, yes, you cast a vote, but I don't control essentially what the end result is. I control this. I
Right.
control this. I control the reality I perceive. So if I stay in that lane, life becomes peaceful because I'm growing that lane. I don't have to try to get everyone into my lane. No, this is me. And when you allow life to unfold that way, you start to see your lane becomes phenomenal. But Jack, touch on that. Life is so peaceful when you stay in your lane.
Yeah, and I don't want it to be misinterpreted. It's not like it's important to care about things and have a lot of passions and interests and hope for the best. But like,
Yep.
I'm not. People have their own opinions and viewpoints, and I'm not going to try to control that. I
Yes.
can't. No one can get. No one can get in someone's brain and make them feel a certain way or think a certain way. You can persuade and influence, but like, that's like kind of what I was alluding to with anything
Yep.
really. It's like I have a handful of clients who are huge sports guys, and they'll get like vehemently annoyed with sports talking heads on TV because they have an opinion that they don't like, and it's just
Yep.
like what
Right.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
And so there's probably a better way, more eloquent way to say it, but stay in your lane. Essentially, like what you said, allowing life to happen. When you stay in your lane and you just dominate and absolutely do everything in your power, your actions and your attitude,
Yep.
then no matter what the outcomes are, I am 100% okay with it. It's like when I'm preparing for a test or trying to go for like a PR attempt, like I had some powerlifting PR attempts about a month ago, and I had a 12-week training cycle. I had zero anxiety about, oh my God, am I going to hit a PR or whatever? Because I knew for the 12 weeks, I gave it everything I had preparing for the PR attempts. Like I just, whatever the result is, I'm not attached to it. I'm unattached because I know like I did everything I could to prepare for it.
100%.
When I was getting farther along in school, I used to have terrible like test anxiety, performance anxiety, and there's times where I wouldn't study as hard as I could. So mentally in my head, I had an out, like, oh, I didn't get an A because I didn't try as hard. I was like fear of failing or fear of not doing well.
Yeah.
It's amazing how like you just allow life to happen. It couldn't have happened a different way because it didn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just
Exactly.
the hard part is that's not our natural default as humans. It's just not. And so it's taken me, I wouldn't recommend this for everyone, but I have sticky note reminders all over my arms and my body. I've got these tattoos everywhere.
Yeah.
And these along with just daily simple reminders has trained my brain to just get to that point where it's like, I stay in my lane. You stay in your lane really well. Obviously, I know you, Billy, by now. Meaning, like, all my time and energy is on what I can control.
Yeah.
And the other outcomes, I'm just attached from because it's going to happen how it's going to happen. And I can't change that. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
Something that helps me a lot. I've had some friends pass away in my life. I've had a near-death experience myself, and I have the tattoo Memento Mori on my arm. Reminding myself about death on a daily basis is so freeing for me. Like, it's not sad at all. It's just a reality. Like one of these days, everything is going to go black forever. And so at night, when I look at myself in the mirror at night and I brush my teeth, I call it my mirror interactions.
Okay.
I literally think to myself, hey, if I die in my sleep tonight, am I proud of the day I put in? Every single night, that's what I think about. And that to me is like my ultimate snapback to reality. Like, no, I wasted time on this or I didn't do enough of that. I want to be proud of that answer. And so I have a 3-day rule. I don't know if we talk about this, but like if I have 3 days in a row where the answer is no, I know I need to like stop and change something. And so that's stuff like that helps me snap back to reality because it's so easy to get distracted with news and opinions and oh my God, that just snaps me back to reality as I look at myself literally like in the eyes, in the mirror.
Yep. Yeah.
And if I die in my sleep tonight, am I proud of my last 24 hours? If the answer is no, then I need to change it like now,
Wow. That's awesome.
It's just that simple. And it's taken me a lot of practice. And there's days where it's not that great, obviously.
Yep.
But 9 times out of 10, I have simplified life to that point where it's like, all right, peace has ensued because I'm not wasting time on things I can't change.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
And if you can tap into that, you know what I'm talking about? You know this, Billy.
Yeah.
Once the first couple of times you yourself experience that and you can tap into that, like almost like higher level of consciousness and just awareness, You're
Exactly.
almost like, oh, you're like awakened essentially.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
when you can just tap into that, it's amazing. Like how beautiful life is. And it's not
Yeah.
sad to me at all. Like just thinking about the realities of life and our mortality. I think it's very freeing as the
Yeah.
lawnmower guy drives by.
That's totally fine. But no, Jack, I love that. And I want people listening to understand the mirror effect that Jack just touched on. That in itself is so powerful. And as Jack even said, higher consciousness, higher self areas. When you speak into the mirror as if you're talking to yourself, it becomes your higher self talking to you. So you can even manifest with the mirror aspect and the mirror concept. And for people to listen, like that's life changing.
Yeah.
Whether it's you deciding for yourself, was today a good day? Did I reach my goals today? No. All right, well, I gotta change something.
Yeah.
That's you trying to ascend to your highest self so you can become your highest self daily and you walk it out. That's when you start to see the momentum of life pick up. But Jack's doing that in his own areas. But Jack, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got a couple minutes left. And I know this has been probably the quickest video you and I have ever done. So we'll
No,
get you
you're
back
good.
on
You're good.
here in like a week or two and we'll get a long one in. But in everything you've gone over with us so far, Jack, it's very inspirational, very perspective shifting. You wanted to end today's message with a poem that has actually helped you.
Yeah.
And I'll just pass it off to you because I think it
Yeah.
connects to everything we've already touched on.
So everything we talked about and just my simple reminders I go through each day. I don't know if grounding's the right word, but these things just snap me back to like reality. They just ground me. And I came across this Ode to Happiness poem. There's a bunch of different versions. This is the version I love though. And I love it because I'm going to read it off my computer screen here. Very fancy. It is I think a great representation. The beginning, you'll hear it as I read it. I used to be like the most negative Nancy. I hated myself. I was my biggest bully. My inner critic just dictated my life.
Yep.
And then as the poem goes on, you start to like the perspective changes. And I'm like a totally different person now than I was when I was like 18. And I love this poem. And I think this is great for anyone. And we'll put it here first. Eventually this will get tattooed on my body. So there you go. So it goes something like this. It says, I draw a hot sorrow bath in my despair room with the misery candle burning. I wash my hair with regret shampoo after cleaning my face with pain soap. I dry myself with my gorgeous white 100% and it will never change towel. Then smooth on my I don't deserve lotion and I hate myself face cream. Then I put on my alone again silk pajamas and go to sleep. When the hue has gone blue and you can't quite grin and bear it, let this word picture remind you it can always be worse. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, I love that. That was my conversation to myself every single night for 25 years. Just the nothing's going to change. I regret myself. I hate myself. Despair, hot sorrow bath. I don't deserve this lotion. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you start to get a little more clarity.
Right.
And when you feel like you've reached the end of your rope,
Yep.
you just remind yourself it could always be worse. And that's like so obvious, but it's just a fact. It's just a fact. You know, I have a chronic illness, but I don't have terminal cancer. I guess technically we all do because we're all going to die one day. But that to me is like, I love that. And obviously for some people, it's like, oh, it sounds so negative. It might not land with them, but that's like the perfect example of kind of how I've gone throughout my I'm 30 now. I've had a birthday since we've talked last. So
wow. Okay. Yeah.
I know my beard and mustache like you makes me look older, but yeah, man, that is, but that last line really is just when you can get out of that fight or flight parasympathetic response and just take a deep breath for a second, take that double nasal inhale and a long mouth exhale and just think to yourself, it could always be worse. In the right mind, everyone will accept that reality as a fact. It just is, you know?
You know, that's funny. And in a sense of, I think it's so impactful and so empowering. It could always be worse. I think along the lines of me going through that process when I went through so many of my own struggles in the past, I think I started to shift it to it can always be better. It can always be better because I think I looked at that where if I'm saying it could always be worse, am I searching for the worse? If better, am I searching? So I think eventually you have this moment where, because it could always be worse. It shows you, like, even that poem to me, it's like it shows the victim build, and it's like, oh, it goes where it's like you kind of hop out of it.
Yeah,
What do
it's
you
like a
do when you
snap
hop
out of
out of it?
reality moment. Yeah,
Right? Exactly. It's reality check 100%. So I always looked at it as like, all right, when you have the reality check, what do you do now? That's like you with the mirror. You have a reality check every night. Like,
yep.
what do I do now? Is it what I want? Is it going in the direction I want? Is it not? Reality check. All right, I have to do something different. You know? That's awesome though. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
and so you know, it's, if you're that person, like every time I hear it could always be worse. To me, it's never a negative thing. I'm
Yeah,
like, I like it, like it's like a boost and a positive
for
boost right
sure.
there. But yes, that's a good clarification. It could also always be better,
Right?
you know. But yeah, just things like that. Like, you know, I've been in the hospital over 800 days of my life, and there was
Yeah.
a time where the longest I was in the hospital for was 34 days in a row. And what got me
Mm,
through that was I literally started looking up statistics. At the time, 1 out of every 9 people on death row are innocent.
wow.
So they're inside of a jail cell 23 hours a day for something they didn't do.
Yeah.
I don't have it that bad.
Yeah.
I'm in a hospital for 34 days. I get food and water. I can talk on the phone. I got a TV.
Yep.
It's not that bad. It could
For
always
sure.
be worse. You know, the
Yeah.
little things like that, it just helps me snap out of it and get a little perspective, like
Yeah.
just smack in the face.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so inspirational for everyone in the world, people listening right now, but like literally everyone, where as we touched on, we'll just use all terminology we touched on. Someone with the cards they were dealt, Jack, you being dealt with this hand of I
Yeah,
have these health issues, but your mentality is much higher than that of someone with normal health, of
right.
someone that's a fit person. Your mentality is you don't go to the stress, you go to the abundant mindset. We'll say to the all
It's
right, like
abundance, exactly.
exactly right. Like despite health issues, play the hand you're dealt, but you have a mentality of I have 4 aces right now. So you're always at this abundant mindset. For people listening, look at the hand you were dealt, but live with the hand you want.
Correct.
Live with that mentality. Because Jack, I think that's what you do, and that's no matter what. Whether it's the example you just gave of someone being in jail for something, what comes to mind is there was a America's Got Talent. It had to be years ago. This guy performed an incredible song. His story behind that was he was in jail for
I saw
30
that.
years. Remember that? 30 years for something he never did. He was wrongly convicted, and then he got out, and then he sang the song, and it was people were crying in the audience. It was impacting them. I don't think he went on to win, but at the same time, that moment is so it's earth shattering for people because someone that went through so much
Yeah,
still keeps moving forward. I think, Jack, that's what your story has encompassed. No matter what, I still move forward. And
correct.
that's what I want people to grasp that from you today. Jack, we got 4 minutes, man. I want to be
Yeah, I'll
respectful of
wrap
your.
it up really quick. Just kind of double down on that. You know, we've talked about dominating what's in your control, and part of that is, you know, it's focus on what you can control, your attitude and actions. And a lot of times it's like people I know, I used to do this a lot, and you know, for example, there's a gal at my work gym.
Yep.
She's having a surgery, and she's already been, every time I see her, she's complaining about all the things she won't be able to do. And
Gotcha.
there is so much of my life. There's things I can't ever do again. There's things I struggle with. That's part of it, though. You don't waste your time and energy on the things you can't do. You focus on the things you can do. You
Right.
don't waste the times on all the things you've lost. You
Yep.
focus on what you have, and
Mm.
it's that as well. There's that layer to it. It's like, you know, there's for example, one of my favorite movies is The Hurricane Man, or Hurricane, with Denzel Washington. It's a true story. He was a
Okay.
professional world champion boxer, Reuben Hurricane Carter, thrown in jail for something he didn't do, and a lot of his story was in jail. He's like, I'm going to absolutely dominate everything I can control on in jail,
Mm.
and then let the cards fall what they would do. And he eventually got out. He had lawyers who helped him, and all that kind of stuff. But that's just kind of to your point. That's part of it too.
Yeah.
You focus on what you can control, and part of that is like not wasting time dwelling on the things you can't do anymore that you lost, or you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's honestly, it all kind of comes back to the whole Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle, however you say his name. It's like,
Yeah.
stay in the present. You know,
Right.
I am where my feet are, and it's honestly that simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And so the way to make it easier is repetition, and
Right.
that's my goal every day. It's just repetition, repetition, repetition.
Right.
Practice it until I make it a habit.
100%. That's awesome. I was going to ask you what's the last message to leave on, but I think you just hit it with a period right there.
I mean, that's it right there. I think
Yeah.
one thing I love about, you doing speaking gigs and me doing speaking gigs is we talk a lot about things they don't necessarily learn in the classroom. And I always get inspired by, gosh, if I would have learned when I was in 8th grade, freshman year, sophomore year, just that little perspective of like, hey, this is what's in our control and this is what's not in our control. Let's go dominate what we can and learn how to deal with trauma and resilience. It's amazing how much different my last 15 years of my life would have been,
Right.
So, So anyways, dude,
that's awesome. Yeah. No, Jack, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah. Instagram, I am jacksernett.com. I recently changed my jacksernettinspires.com. I'm in the process of getting a new website, making it look less Bush League. And all my social media, just I am jacksernett.com. And then, of course, obviously everyone should continue to follow you, Billy.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But, Jack, I appreciate your time today. And I know this is a quicker message than people. We kind of moved at a quicker pace, but I hope we packed in everything because honestly, Jack, I think we touched on every nail. Like we hit everything that we needed to. So I appreciate you giving the time today. And for people listening, I want you to go look at Jack's content, look at his website. I know he's redoing everything, but he speaks to schools. He speaks to students. As he just touched on. If kids knew this at a younger age, because for parents listening right now, I probably say it every time Jack's on, but what's going, you know what your kid's going through, but you don't know what your kid's going through. Your kid knows it. And when Jack goes in, or heck, me goes in, and we speak on these deeper topics, kids are thinking about this and they're trying to find an answer. They're trying to find a way out, you could say, to what's going to help them reach the next level. That's what Jack does. That's how he inspires. So if you're someone that's looking for a speaker to come in for your team or your school or whatever, that's what Jack's been doing the last few months. He's been helping different club teams. He's been helping people, helping these students, helping these kids grow. Take the mentality we touched on today for yourself. But if you're looking for someone to come in, reach out to Jack, reach out to me. Heck, I know in the future, Jack and I have touched on, we're going to be on stage together. Let's put it together with you guys. But I appreciate your time, Jack. I thank you for just lending us your wisdom for this message, because what you've been through is inspiring, and it's not an end all be all for people. Jack, I'm someone that just wholeheartedly believes, and Jack and I touched on this. As much as he's going through these health issues, I still think healing is the end result of everything he's going through. And that's the mentality Jack has. And for anyone listening, control what you can control, as we touched on. But also, whatever information you got, it's not the end result. It's not the fact. You can still change that. You can still, how your perception perceives that information, how you believe that information, what it means for you can change if you have that higher mentality. Do the mirror exercise Jack touched on and see how you can change yourself through what you see, through what you believe for yourself. But again, Jack, I thank you for being here. Everyone, please go check Jack's stuff out. Please like this message on YouTube and hit that thumbs up button below. Share this message to someone who you feel needs to hear it. Maybe there's an area Jack and I touched on where someone popped into your mind. It's a clear-cut sign to you to share it to that person and help them. Lend a hand by doing so. And please subscribe to Once a Week if you have not already. That number is going up every single week, which means we're helping people every single week. Please become a part of our channel. And if you're in need of a coach who can help in the areas discussed today, head to BillyGLifeCoaching.com and I'll be right there for you. I appreciate you guys for a quick message. Jack, I appreciate your time. I can't wait for the next one, brother. I'll see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a good one, guys.
You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Bugle signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock.